Welcome everyone, Costin here on Serious Gaming with a look at the armored legionaries, the legions of Rome as people know them. The iconic look of the Roman military with the lorica segmentata. Though not with those shields, you can get the iconic Roman shield, the reinforced large scutum, if you so desire. Not worth it because you can obviously get the next upgrade, the veteran legionaries, which do have it. So when it comes to the armored legionaries, you have a choice, you have a path between them and the legionaries, which are faster but less durable. So they have more mobility, they're able to react better on the battlefield, but they're less durable than the legionaries. And the difference, of course, is they're wearing the lorica hamata, the chainmail, whereas the armored legionaries are wearing the lorica segmentata, the segmented plate armor that the Romans are famous for. And I just want to talk a bit here because it is ridiculous to view the Roman military, which was very flexible and was composed of a whole lot of units, plenty of auxiliary units, as just being made up of legionaries wearing armor, either chainmail or the lorica segmentata. And obviously there's been a heavy focus when it comes to the media on portraying the Romans as wearing a lot of the lorica segmentata, when the lorica segmentata was only used for a portion of Rome's history. I think, what, 1 century, close to 2 centuries, at the height of the Roman Empire. And mind you, we don't actually have very good records of that period. I mean, we do in part, in some respects, but there's a lot of things that are lacking. Like, say, for instance, the Dacian Wars happened then, and we know almost fuck all about the Dacian Wars because no one really kept good records of that. And the historians of that time period were more busy writing about previous wars than they were about current wars. We do know, however, or to a degree this is assumptions by historians, but we do know that Rome did use the lorica segmentata on some units, but not all of its units, for probably various reasons, economic reasons, and there is obviously some military reasons behind it. Not just the cost or the maintenance. So obviously that puts a strain on the logistics, especially when Rome had such a big empire that it had to keep troops on all the borders of the empire, maintain troops. And obviously that creates logistical problems if you have to keep these armored units in good condition. And obviously plate is far more difficult to maintain than chainmail. Though it may not have been that much more expensive to actually produce, it's more so a question of distance here. Though obviously resources were also a problem. But here's the thing, the lorica segmentata, although it's great against weapons, downward thrust weapons, so if someone has a big sword and he's trying to hit you from above with it, then the lorica segmentata is better than the lorica hamata. But the lorica hamata is better against stabbing weapons because plate armor in general, and we know this very well from medieval history, plate armor has gaps that can be exploited and were exploited by many people throughout history. So, and this obviously applies to Roman armor as well. And here's the thing, the lorica segmentata started disappearing and did disappear completely at about the same time that Rome descended in a new series of civil wars. And obviously the Romans being famous for their stabbing weapons, their gladiuses, then, well, it kind of makes sense that the Romans now focused on fighting each other, would change obviously to weapons and armor that would favor that. And that's the advantage of the lorica hamata over the lorica segmentata. In terms of gameplay perspective, the armored legionaries
Focus your fire! At the ready! Formation! Move! Swordsman!
Right? Fall back. I don't want to engage here. I mean, this is going to be a real brawl over here, but I don't want to engage here just yet. Especially not the hoplite formation in the front. For the same reason he doesn't want to engage me, in the front, because an armored legionaries on both sides, 6 units of armored legionaries are not going to be something that you take down easily. Now you do have the heavy pilum. This is actually a historical accuracy. There was a heavier version of the pilum that was actually made and used by the Romans. What? Really? Already? Okay. Alright, let's alright, we need to deal with that. Bastards are trying to flank us, huh?
Right there! In formation! Leave no survivors! Swordsman! Destroy! Eagle! Slay them! Vengeance! Swordsman!
Okay.
Form up! Destroy!
Now, what's nice about this game is that you actually have proper Roman formation fighting. And what that really boils down to is that the Romans fought in this formation where they would, where the men at the front would eventually end up at the back, and the men at the back would get to the front. So that way, the men would preserve their energy. Fighting is, you know, obviously pretty tiring, as you might imagine. Not exactly easy. So by rotating their units like that, which is this game has, and it's a first Total War game that has something like this. By rotating their units like that, they were able to have fresh units always at the front. And obviously this gave them an advantage over their enemies. Now here, obviously I'm put in an unfavorable position. I just took down 3 units, and I just got flanked by more units. So that's a pretty bad situation. Mind you, we are winning the battle. We are still winning the battle, because we're able to do more damage. It's thanks to those ranged units that we were able to do it. Obviously we also have some artillery over there helping out. Still, the battle, for me at least, is more or less over. Alright, I'm just gonna put these guys in formation. Okay. Yeah, we're probably gonna be able to achieve some form of victory here. Not exactly the cleanest possible, but still a victory. Most of the enemy army has been, a significant portion of it at least, has been destroyed. Now, my army has just been wiped out over there. Now on this side, the enemy archers are pulling out. Their camp is not in a really good position. And we have, well, that unit is just going to get wiped out. But since there is still artillery, that artillery is going to be able to do some damage on these hoplites. Well, foot companions. Later, Macedonian hoplites. Right, there's still 3 units, damaged as they are, of barbarians. There's still some archers over there. These guys are advancing in Testudo. I'd probably take them out of Testudo in that situation. Still have some swordsmen. That's a really good hit. And we have legionaries here advancing. I'm gonna charge right into those foot companions. Of course, charging hoplites at the front is not a good idea, but still, the advantage here is that these guys have now left themselves defenseless. And this is a problem with a lot of players. They don't realize, and a lot of people make this mistake in a lot of the games I've played so far. Your army is not a single unit, it's 3 individual units. And you can turn around with 1 unit, not all of them, but 1 unit to place a flanking attack, instead of just getting charged in the ass like that and losing a lot of your men as a result. Alright. This guy's just gonna get smashed. Yeah. Cavalry right in the back. High level cavalry as well. The battle still rages, but our side is gonna take their camp soon enough. Probably. Maybe. It depends a great deal on... Like, there's 3 units there, but they still have some archers over there as well. But the enemy has some cavalry, and that's gonna be a problem. And of course, we do still have some of our own units. I don't know why he's still in test 2, though. There are no more ranged enemy units around here, at least based on what I can see. Okay, will that be enough? Probably not, really. Time-wise, we'd probably just win based on time, but honestly, this battle should end before that. Just, there are enough units to win the battle. Oh, that fire can be nasty. Alright, more units coming in. More armored legionaries. They have... These guys appear to be wearing a shield that you can buy if you pay gold for it. Yeah, they kind of screwed up over there, but it doesn't matter. Like, those units are the last of the enemy army, so... That should be a done deal. Now over here, the enemy, the last of the enemy cavalry, the Gamma cavalry are pulling back. This would be a really good moment to charge, like legitimately a good point to charge. So the thing about the armored legionaries is, you know, the regular legionaries, they're a good mobile unit and all that. The armored legionaries, though, are what you think of when you think of the Roman military, the unstoppable Juggernaut. That once it starts going, it doesn't stop. And I quite literally mean that. Like, the only thing that ever really stopped the legions in an open battle, from head to head, was even when completely encircled, like say by Hannibal at Cannae, the legions were still able to fight through and break through the front line and some of them were able to escape some. So very rarely were the legions able to be stopped in the actual ground battle by other infantry. The only cases where we have them actually being stopped and them having to win on the sides is against a Greek phalanx. And even then, in some cases, like when we were talking specifically about the Seleucids, there are situations where the Romans were actually able to break through phalanx formations. Not often, not frequent, but it did occasionally actually happen. So that's just a point to make. So these guys, they represent the might of Rome, the unstoppable Juggernaut that will just keep going, and not easy to defeat. I took a lot of punishment there in that battle. Perhaps I did admittedly put myself in a bad position, but that was actually an interesting battle. And that's the thing I like about this game. The battles actually are a lot more dynamic, a lot more interesting than they typically are in Total War games. I mean, hell, I'd give them credit just for the fact that they finally introduced a proper Roman fighting formation for combat, which is how the Romans fought. And we're not just talking about the Imperial era here. We're not just talking about the Marian reforms over here. No, even when you're talking at the Republican army, the earlier Republican army of Rome, they fought in this way as well. Or they fought more spaced out than, you know, like in a lot of situations, a lot of movies, and a lot of games. The Romans are too tightly packed together. Like when you look at the Hastati, the Principes, the Triarii, how they actually fought, Like the Principes and the Hastati were actually split apart. There was room in the formation, plenty of room for men to actually use their weapons properly. That's one of the things Hannibal was really able to use against the Romans, because the Romans at Cannae packed their formations so tight that they couldn't actually use their weapons properly. And their thought process was, their thought process was probably the same as a lot of players in this game. It's like, let's just blob our units together and that will push through. They were not wrong. It certainly did push through, but Hannibal was just like, well, I can completely encircle and obliterate these guys, and that's what he did. And it ultimately ended up working very well for him there. Anyway, Costin here on Serious Gaming, signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video. Thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for more.